Welcome to Hannity. Our top story tonight. The victims of the IRS enemies list scandal have broken their silence. Now, it all happened earlier today during a powerful hearing on Capitol Hill when average Americans who are unfairly targeted by this administration told their personal stories to lawmakers for the very first time. Now, at times today, the testimony got heated and even a bit emotional. Let's take a comprehensive look at the highlights from today's hearings.
I'm a born-free American woman, wife, mother, and citizen. And I'm telling my government that you've forgotten your place. I'm not interested in scoring political points. I want to protect and preserve the America that I grew up in. The America that people cross oceans and risk their lives to become a part of. And I'm terrified it is slipping away. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I felt betrayed. Absolutely betrayed.
Then Acting Commissioner Steve Miller summed up the IRS's action as horrible customer service. Would you call that horrible customer service, or would you call that something else?
I would call it a felony, as the federal law calls this a felony, and I would prosecute those people responsible. Representative Blumenauer, it's your kind of statements that have empowered IRS agents to make determinations about which organizations qualify for the public good and which do not. The notion that defending traditional marriage doesn't qualify as a defense of the public good is beyond preposterous.
Boy, the American people are being led to believe you guys are big muscles of political strength. Could you tell us roughly what your annual budget is?
Our annual budget is in the negative.
Uh-oh. Are you a Democratic organization? This IRS agency has discriminated against people based on their political views.
Right.
For anyone to suggest that these individuals' rights should be limited more so than others simply because of their political beliefs is nothing more than discrimination.
Pretty powerful. Now, unfortunately, that suggestion was made early and often by Democrats at today's proceedings. Now, Congressman Jim McDermott was among the left-wing lawmakers to suggest the victims are to blame for this scandal. Now, thankfully, there was a former vice presidential nominee on hand to call him out. Watch this moment.
Each of your groups is highly political, from opposing the president's health care reform to abortion restrictions to gay marriage. You are all entrenched in some of the most controversial political issues in the country. And with your applications, you are asking the American public to pay for that work.
Mr. Ryan is recognized.
I'm going to deviate from my original question in response to what I just heard.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome to Washington. So you're to blame, I guess, is the message here. To suggest that these citizens are to blame for applying, I don't understand how one can make that conclusion. I yield.
And joining me now with reaction to today's hearing is the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, and that would be Michigan Congressman Dave Camp. Congressman, thank you for being with us. The reaction, the applause, I've watched a lot of hearings in my life. That's not something you see every day on Capitol Hill now, is it?
No, it's not. I think it really is a statement just how compelling a lot of what we heard was. And these were ordinary Americans, but who did a tremendous job stating their case. The quality of the testimony was really impressive and troubling because of what the IRS has done, and that they've targeted people simply because they had conservative political views.
It really comes down to that, and that is even not in dispute. That's an issue that's been established. What was your reaction, Congressman, to the statements of Jim McDermott?
Well, it was actually preposterous to make that sort of connection because, look, they were law-abiding citizens who were organizing for under their First Amendment rights, and as many pointed out, C4s don't use taxpayer funds, and it's something they were entitled to do. What they aren't entitled to is being discriminated against, and we really needed to hear those stories personally because some of this has been talked about, it's been in print, but to actually see these average Americans who came from all over the country and what they represented, the hundreds of people who were really subjected to this, I think it was important to put a face on this, and they did very effectively.
Congressman, Lois Lerner knew about this in June of 2011. The IRS concluded their own internal investigation in May of 2012. Are you able to tell the American people tonight why they didn't know about this before the 2012 election, sir?
We can't yet. We know that high-ranking officials at IRS knew 2 years ago. We know Treasury knew a year ago. We don't know who really started this yet, and that's going to be sort of the painstaking part of this investigation that is just beginning, where we really have to dig in and get sort of that kind of information. But we don't have that yet. They have not been forthcoming. They have not been able to tell us, either the IRS or the Inspector General. And so we're just going to have to dig and get it on our own. This has gone on for several years, and it's going to take some time.
Now, the president said he first heard about this like you all did from the news. That was his statement. And we were told originally that nobody in the White House knew. Now we have since found out that the White House counsel knew earlier than they told. The White House chief of staff knew earlier than was told to us, and that even the campaign, we know Stephanie Cutter knew about it. So my question to you is, it's important to hear from the people that are the victims. Why has nobody from the White House as of this moment been put under oath and asked any questions about it?
Well, we know also that the Treasury Department knew about it over a year ago, and the Treasury is obviously directly connected to the White House. We are going to get there. We just have to go about this in the most painstaking and authentic way we can, and we're going to do that. We're going to take this wherever it leads. We're going to get the truth. By the time we get done with this, we're going to know the truth. We don't know it now, and it's not been easy to find out the things we do know, but we're going to keep going until we do.
I'm having a hard time, and I'm just following this like everybody else, reconciling. In the Bush years, the head of the IRS went to the White House one time versus 157 trips since President Obama was president. Can you reconcile that for me? Because that doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense to me either. We don't know what those visits were. I think we've had an inadequate explanation so far in the one hearing that the former commissioner attended, but there are a lot more questions there. What were the substance of those meetings, and why were there so many of them? It is unusual, and I bet if we went back to other commissioners through time, we would find that that's a very unusual number of visits to the White House.
In light of all that we have now learned, Congressman, we're, I guess, 16,000 employees from the IRS are going to be overseeing the health care bill. Is that something that you think the country needs to reconsider in light of the abuse of power that clearly went on here?
This is an agency that is, at best, terribly mismanaged, and at worst, engaging in illegal activity. I think we have to really look at the fact that this is the agency that's going to enforce Obamacare.
All right, Congressman Camp, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it. We'll stay on it and keep asking important questions. Now, coming up next.